Okay, so here's a tension that we feel sometimes as we talk to church leaders, especially. Why do we even need theatrical type lighting in church?
Mm-hmm.
And so there's that question. But then there's okay, let's talk about the line between the need for that and why it's important and why we want it to be really great, but we don't want it to seem like a show either.
Sure.
So there's that back and forth sometimes that we have to address.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's two ways to look at all that. First, I want to start out by saying I don't think every church needs theatrical lighting. I mean, it's only become popular in the past 15 to 20 years or so.
Yeah.
We still had church. People still came to Christ, before moving lights even existed. So I think that's a church by church decision. You have to decide on whether or not you can use that as a valuable tool to help connect with people. To me, that's what it is. I actually, earlier on in my career, before I was even involved in church lighting at all and was doing concert tours and more theatrical stuff, I even saw churches using it sometime and went, why are they doing that? Is it a spoonful of sugar approach of like, hey, we're going to make it feel like we're all cool and trendy like the other stuff you go to, and once we get you in the doors, surprise, Jesus.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think there are some churches that maybe not intentionally, but definitely unintentionally have ended up approaching it that way.
Well, the other side of that too is they tried to maybe implement some of that technology, but didn't do it very well.
Right.
And so then they thought, hey, we've got this really cool environment, and everybody coming says, it's not really cool at all.
Right. So I actually had to, do some soul searching on this early on in my involvement with churches and production. And here's where I arrived. This is my personal view on why we use lighting in church. If we can connect with people in the natural, if we can be relational with them, then when we start telling them about something, they're more inclined to listen, to believe, to lean in. On a real basic level, you can look at like cushioned seats and air conditioning. Does Christ need that? No, but we do. If I'm sitting on a hard chair, I'm going to it's going to be harder for me to listen because I'm uncomfortable. If I'm sitting in a super hot room and I'm sweating, I'm not going to be engaged as what my pastor's saying. So those are tools to reach people in the natural so that as we're communicating, we can communicate better. Lighting is no different. I think there's times we look at a stage in church and we see a drum kit, like what's behind me. We see guitars and amps and all that. And we go, okay, it's a concert. And those of us that do this for a living might make the mistake of going, I'm going to look at a lot of concerts, and that's how I'm going to decide what I'm doing. That's not always bad. I get wonderful ideas from concerts on how to do lighting in churches. But it's the goal that we have to be careful of.
Mm-hmm.
The goal is to help tell the story.
Right.
The goal is to use these tools to add mood, emotion, to present things in excellence. Because when you do that, people are more inclined to listen and pay attention to it. When you walk in and you go, this is intentional. People spent time crafting this. This deserves my attention. Or when it's a dramatic element, a certain song or something, when you can support that visually, when you can enhance people's mood with the colors we're using and what's going on, they're going to lean in more.
Yeah.
They're going to, that wall that may have come in with, is going to be let down because we've hit them emotionally. And then that's the opportunity for the gospel to really connect with them. You're
not trying to make it showy for showiness' own sake.
Right.
To trying to make it engaging using the technology.
And that doesn't mean we can't ever have things feel showy. Sometimes that's going to accomplish our same goals.
Totally.
If something, if the way to connect with people is this is fun, this is dynamic, this is energetic, that may be what we're going for. The trick is to always make sure you know what the end goal is first, and then figure out how to use all these tools to get there. If you don't know what the end goal is, this just ends up as a bolt-on distraction.
Yeah, it's the Seth Godin Meatball Sunday. It's if your church is serving meatballs, you can't put lighting as a whipped cream and cherry on that. You have to make sure that it's ice cream you're serving and that what you're doing with the lighting supports the story being told.
Exactly. I got my start in theater, so I always circle it back to that. Hamilton's a popular show right now. Jesus Christ Superstar is another show that's been popular for a long time. You can't take the lighting from Superstar and put it into Hamilton and it makes sense because it wasn't designed for it. It's not there to bring you to the same place. And if we do that same thing, if you may look at another church and go, man, I really like their lighting. That's amazing. I want to do it that way. But if your musicians are not the same, if your leadership is not going towards the same goal, it's not going to fit and it's going to be unauthentic.
I've never thought about it that way. And that's very true. I feel like, not to talk down on churches, but you could swap out what we see visually to a lot of different churches. but that doesn't necessarily mean that's the best practice.
Absolutely not.
And when they don't get equal results, they're really struggling to figure out why. And it might be because what they've thrown on top as a layer of design is completely counter to their vision in every other area.
That's it. Just because it works for the church across town, across the state, across the country, doesn't mean it's the right thing for your formula.